The tram clatters gently as it climbs the hills of Lisbon, its yellow body glowing in the first light of morning. Below, the Tagus River reflects the golden sky like a sheet of polished glass, while slow joggers pass pastel homes, wrapped in silence. Up ahead, an old man opens his cafe shutters, and the smell of fresh bread begins to drift into the narrow street. This is a city that seems to rise with the sun, slowly, softly, and full of warmth. And yet, behind this postcard calm lies a surprising question. How can one of Europe's most picturesque capitals still feel untouched by the rush of high prices? Lisbon is a city of edges, cliffside viewpoints, tiled alleyways, ancient elevators scaling steep inclines, but its heart beats slow. It invites you in with its beauty, but keeps you with something deeper. Coffee and a pastry here still cost just a few euros. A room in a sunny apartment might cost less than a night out in Berlin. And everywhere, life seems to unfold at a human pace, casual, poetic, and alive. As we begin this journey, the narrator hints at more than just views and bargains. Lisbon is a place where the past is painted in stone, the future is arriving by surfboard or laptop, and the soul of the city is hidden in quiet moments. Welcome to the Portuguese capital, elegant, welcoming, and quietly unforgettable. In Alfama, the streets aren't just narrow, they twist like stories passed down through generations. Along the walls, thousands of ceramic tiles shimmer in blue and white azulejos, each one a fragment of Lisbon's soul. Some tiles tell biblical tales, others display ships crossing stormy seas, or floral motifs curling like poetry. They aren't just decorations, they're part of the city's DNA, covering homes, churches, benches, and fountains. And when the sun hits them just right, the whole street seems to sparkle. Lisbon's architecture is a living blend of the empires that once shaped it: Moorish courtyards, Roman ruins, Gothic cathedrals, and Pombaline grid systems designed to survive earthquakes. The neighborhoods tell stories. In Barro Alto, sound floats from open windows, fado songs, jazz riffs, children's laughter. At the hill in Graca, old ladies hang laundry over wrought iron balconies, while tuk-tuks crawl up the incline. No two streets look the same, yet the city feels stitched together by an unmistakable character. Humble, historic, and expressive, even the sidewalks tell a story, patterned with black and white mosaic stones known as Colcata Portuguesa. The tram rattles by, line 28, iconic and always full, squeezing past corners barely wide enough to hold two people. The textures of Lisbon, stone, tile, sun, and song, give it a tactile warmth. It's not a city to rush through. It's one to walk, to touch, to listen to. And everywhere you go, art is not confined to galleries. It's built into the walls, carved into the streets, and rising with the hills. In most Western capitals, beauty comes with a price. But in Lisbon, life somehow remains within reach. A metro pass here costs just over 40 euros a month. A three-course lunch, the Prato do Dia, often arrives for less than 10 euros, complete with bread, soup, coffee, and wine. And the coffee? Strong, rich, and rarely more than a single coin. Lisbon may be old in age, but it feels young in spirit, and affordable in ways that still surprise. Rent is rising, especially in central areas, but it's still possible to find shared flats. In the 300 euros 500 euros range, monthly utility bills often hover under 100 euros. Street food favorites like bifanas or prego no pio, pork or steak in crusty rolls, cost around 3 euros. Public transport is clean, safe, and arrives on time. And while locals speak with quiet pride about their culture, they welcome newcomers with the kind of warmth that turns strangers into neighbors. This accessibility has drawn a wave of digital nomads, artists, and remote workers in recent years, attracted by the weather, the pace of life, and the possibility of living well without breaking the bank. But the city hasn't lost itself. On a random Tuesday, you might see grandmothers shopping at corner grocers, kids kicking footballs in back alleys, and a lawyer sipping quinjinha after work. Lisbon remains grounded, and its affordability doesn't feel like a discount. It feels like an invitation to live more fully. With less, the streets of Lisbon wake slowly, but with rhythm. On a weekday morning, The scent of espresso drifts out of tiled cafes, while tram bells echo softly in the distance. Near Mercado da Ribeira, baskets brim with oranges, sardines, and fresh herbs. A man in his 70s sits beneath a faded umbrella, sipping coffee and reading a newspaper. No rush. Nearby, students zip past on scooters, laughing as they weave through alleys brightened by morning light. The city moves, but never in a hurry. There's a grace to it, a kind of deliberate calm. The metro system, fast and efficient, glides through beautifully tiled stations like Quai du Sodre and Bexaquiado, but the passengers inside are never pushing. A typical workday starts later than in many cities, and lunch breaks can last over an hour. Time here isn't scarce, it's respected. At Rocio Square, street musicians play softly near the fountains. Tourists snap pictures, but locals sit, just watching, eating roasted chestnuts, talking about everything and nothing. This pace feels unfamiliar to visitors from cities where every second is scheduled, but in Lisbon, slowness isn't inefficiency. It's a quiet form of wealth, a luxury of presence. The city seems to suggest, what if the real richness isn't in having more time, but in feeling every moment of it? There's a moment, standing at the edge of the Tagus River, when Lisbon feels less like a city and more like a memory carried by wind. The Atlantic sparkles beyond, vast and restless, while sailboats drift gently in the harbor. The air tastes of salt and sun. This is where Portugal once launched its ships into the unknown, the age of discovery carved into the national spirit. As the camera drifts west toward Belém, the waterfront tells its own story. The monument to the discoveries, the Tower of Belém, and street vendors selling pasties do not beneath swaying palm trees. But the river is more than history. It's a constant presence. People walk their dogs along its banks, couples sit with their feet over the edge, and teenagers practice tricks on skateboards, framed by endless blue. Lisbon's 7 hills rise above it all, each crowned by a miraduro, a viewpoint. At Miraduro da Senhora do Monte, you can see the terracotta roofs stretch all the way to the sea. At Santa Catarina, sunset is a ritual. Music, laughter, glasses clinking. The light in Lisbon changes everything. It's why painters come here, why writers stay. The hills, the water, the air, they give the city a kind of openness, even in its narrowest corners. They say Lisbon tastes like memory, a warm custard tart with a caramelized top, dusted in cinnamon, grilled sardines sizzling on tiny backyard grills, smoke curling into alleyways during festival nights, or a bowl of caldo verde, kale soup with slices of chorizo, served at a local tavern where nobody checks their phone. Food here isn't just sustenance, it's story, it's tradition passed hand to hand. In Lisbon, meals are slow, often shared, and always tied to emotion. The Portuguese word saudade is hard to translate. It's a kind of longing, nostalgia, or tender melancholy, and it lives in every flavor. You can taste it in bacalhau, the endless variations of salted cod, or in a simple glass of red wine, sipped while watching old trams pass under orange skies. Fado, Portugal's most soulful music, carries this same emotion, performed in dim, intimate rooms. The voice of the singer stretches like a sigh, sorrowful, beautiful, full of longing, and yet nothing about this feels sad. It feels real, like Lisbon itself, full of flavor, light and shadow, sweetness and ache. To eat here is to connect, not just with the senses, but with the soul of a people who remember and feel deeply. In Eduardo VII Park, the sound of lives converging fills the air. Elderly couples walk slowly beneath the pines. Teenagers race downhill on skateboards. A group of expats, Brazilian, French, Indian, chat in a blend of English and Portuguese, laughing over takeaway coffees. Lisbon is one of Europe's oldest capitals, and its population reflects that quiet wisdom carried in the lines on many faces. But in the last decade, the city has begun to shift. Youth has returned, so has global curiosity. At the University of Lisbon, students debate politics, tech, and art under shaded courtyards. In Alfama, you might meet a woman who remembers when the dictatorship fell, her window open to a street that has changed around her. Lisbon is welcoming, but not without tension. Rents rise, languages multiply, cultures blend. In some places, it feels like a city in flux. Yet despite these changes, something essential remains: the warmth, the grace, the feeling that newcomers are absorbed, not erased. A Syrian bakery opens beside a traditional Portuguese tavern. A Brazilian dance class fills a gym once used for fado. Portuguese is still the song of the city, but now it carries many accents: soft, layered, curious, and in that sound, you can hear the future of Lisbon, not abandoning its past, but expanding it slowly and quietly into something broader than borders. At sunset, Lisbon glows from within, from the rooftops of Barro Alto to the overlook at São Pedro de Alcântara. People gather for the nightly show. The sky blooms in layers: orange, lavender, pink. While church bells echo and wine glasses clink softly, someone strums a guitar. A child dances barefoot. For a few minutes, the entire city seems to hold its breath. Lights flicker on across the hills, yellow halos around laundry lines and old balconies. A tram rumbles into the night, its windows catching the last of the gold light. The city softens, folds into itself like a page turning. There is no rush. Here, even the shadows stretch slowly. In this stillness, something becomes clear. Lisbon is not a city that demands attention. It offers feeling, a space between day and night, between past and future, where life is simply allowed to be. And in that space, you begin to understand what makes this city unforgettable. What remains when you leave Lisbon isn't just a photograph or a good meal. It's a sensation, a kind of quiet richness that lives in slow mornings and sunlit stones. Lisbon doesn't rush you. It invites you to walk without direction, to drink coffee without checking the clock, to listen, to feel, to breathe. In an era obsessed with speed and spectacle, Lisbon offers something radical: slowness, presence, the joy of enough. This is not a city that performs for you. It simply lives and allows you to live within it. You don't need a checklist here. You just need time. There's beauty in its peeling paint, poetry in its silence, and soul in its streets. Affordability may have drawn many here, but what makes them stay is something deeper. It's the rhythm, the light, the sense that every corner hides a small story, and every story deserves to be heard. So if you find yourself standing on a quiet cobbled street at dusk, with the sound of fado drifting from a second-floor window, just pause. That's Lisbon talking, not loudly but clearly. You don't come here to escape life. You come here to live it, slowly and fully.